everyone. Here we are. We're live. How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a great Tuesday, end of March. So that's exciting, I guess. we're wrapping up yet another month here. So thanks for joining us over your lunch hour here in Colorado, or 2 o'clock if you're on the East Coast, or if you're where Henrik's at over in Denmark, it's probably
8 o'clock
late at night. Okay, so early evening. Cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks again for joining us today. Today, what we are going to talk about is the Google My Business and the initial setup of that. So if you don't have a Google My Business account, what today's webinar is really going to focus on is how to properly set that up, how to go about doing that, because when we talked last week, we mentioned that every business, really, if you don't have a Google My Business, you should get one as soon as possible before changing rapidly. Again, Google has really kind of changed a lot of what you can and cannot do with Google My Business, including reviews. I've seen just in the last several days a real restriction on even giving reviews. A couple of weeks ago, I was even able to give people reviews, and now that seems to be tightening up. Just a lot of things are changing with Google My Business. So anything you wanted to add to that, Henrik, before we jump right into this?
No, what we could say is that Google wants to control that the business not start taking advantage of the COVID-19.
Awesome. Here, cool. So Let's go ahead and dive right in. And so talking about our agenda for today. So the first thing that we'll discuss with you guys is how to set up your GMB. What you need to optimize and what you need to make sure of when you're setting it up. And in a lot of instances, what that's going to entail is before you request or before you enter in that PIN number, you want to make sure that your GMB is as optimized as it possibly can be. Once you enter in the PIN, you actually validate and verify it. It becomes a little trickier if you're in there continuously kind of tweaking this or that. We see in a lot of instances that can trigger not necessarily a manual, but an algorithmic type of suspension, in which case you've got to get on the phone with Google. You have to sort it out. And as short-staffed as they are right now, that can be a real pain in the butt. So the other thing is also strategies in order to be seen on Google, and then just some of the tools that we're currently using. So
we could add to what Brian said that Google can suspend your GMB in the moment that you push the button for the verify, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the messages that is coming up could be, you don't fulfill our quality guidelines. And that's because you haven't filled in all the detail. So fill it in and then hit the verify button.
Mm-hmm. And so hopefully, as we're going through this, one thing that you may want to do as just a business owner, or if you haven't set up your GMB yet, is consider, even using like a Word document or a notepad or just some kind of text document. Try and get your ideas already planned out. So typically when we set this up, you're obviously going to need the name of your business, the address, the phone number, the website, do a short description. There's a lot of things that'll go into actually optimizing, which we'll get into here today. But just as a quick tip, I tend to use Notepad++. I've also used like Microsoft Word or just Notepad or any kind of rich text editor or just any kind of editor. That way you can jot down your ideas. You have it there right in front of you. And it's kind of like your cheat sheet. You're just copying and pasting at that point. So let's dive right in here to actually what it takes to set up a GMB. Henrik, do you want to go through this and kind of explain a few things here?
When you go to google.com/business, you will be logged into a dashboard. And this dashboard will, depending on how many GMBs that you have, looks like, for instance, you're seeing on the screen now. Mm-hmm. And in this instance, this account has 10 locations. You can see they're all 100% verified. And you can see on the right side, there's a review of was actually a message that I had to go into this GMB, look at it, and look at the review update. But when you want to add a new location, you hit the add location button up on the right. You can see where the red arrow is located.
Right here.
At location. So if you go to the next screen, Brian. You can either type your name into this box, or alternatively add your business to Google. If you type in your business name and Google find it, then it has an idea that your business exists and you already have what you call a machine readable ID in Google terms. But if you can't find your business, then you go down and click the add your business to Google. And when you hit that, then you start inserting your information. So if you go to the next one, the first thing you will have to do is to add your business name. So here I've been creating one called Guma Limited. And when I hit the next button, I will have to indicate what kind of business category I'm in. You will insert or find the business category which is most properly for your business. And later on, you can add more secondary categories to your business. The next thing you would have to add is the kind of services that you're offering. And if you, as in this instance, it says telemarketing, if you can't find your own service, then you can add a custom. And here I have added several search engine optimization, social marketing, Google My Business service, on page optimization, off-page optimization. But again, if you're a restaurant, you'll put in that the type of cuisine that you're servicing, and just find the proper services that you operate in.
And so one thing that I'd add to that is keep in mind, if at all possible, try and use these services that Google already identifies, because these are already things that they're in their database. Of course, if there's new services, they may potentially add them, but in general, Google already understands that social marketing, for example, that's a service or an industry related to that they already recognize as a primary type service. If you just go in here and you start adding really abstract, obscure types of service, odds are that you're probably not going to show up immediately, unless Google identifies that kind of service is highly relevant for, say, the parent category, telemarketing, for example. If you're coming up with these random things, it's kind of like having this abstract idea that no one really quite understands or gets. And that's the same way with Google. Stick to what it already understands and it recognizes in its database.
Or if it had been searched. So if you look at the
trending topics.
Yeah. So let's dive into the next slide. So what it asks you to do is to at the location, or they ask if your location is one which clients can come and visit, i.e. is it a shop or restaurant or an office where you can receive visitors.
Right. And I would add this also is a really important thing. If you aren't serving clients at your location, make sure you set it up as a service area business. Otherwise, that tends to be at least one of the things I've been seeing that'll get things flagged really quickly. If you're a service area business and your industry is known to be a service area business, but you're saying that people can come to your house or your quote unquote office, that can be problematic. And I've seen some just algorithmic suspensions based on that alone. What about you, Henrik?
No, as I said, if you don't try to game the system here, because that will hit you maybe in the butt later on. So if you're a service business, then you say no here. If you're a service business and you receive customers into an office, then you put in yes. The difference between those two is that the address will not be shown on the service business area, whilst if you have an office location, your address will be public on searches.
Okay.
So that's a major difference between those two.
Perfect.
So here I just typed in an address for this company, and then I will hit next again, but as much as possible. And then here it asks you, do you also serve a customer outside this location? Here I will say yes.
Cool.
So because then you're telling Google, well, I actually driving out to clients. That's just a reconfirmation of that you.
And that's kind of the hybrid businesses. So if you have like a brick and mortar, or the general rule of thumb I like to think about is if someone could come to your office during your stated business hours, then you would qualify for the physical location. If you go out to them always, then that would be the service area business. This instance here is, let's say you're a granite countertop installer, where someone could come to potentially your showroom, or like a interior designer, for example. Someone could come to your location, they could visit you during your stated business hours, but you also visit the client's address, or you deliver to their house, like a flooring company or something like that. So this is definitely more of a hybrid business, and occasionally you will run into issues with it, but from what I'm seeing is it's, as long as you're, again, playing by the rules, generally speaking, you will be fine. You may have to call Google and kind of work it out with them, say, hey, look, this is how my business works. And a lot of times that'll get resolved. But again, don't game the system on this one. It's not the time nor place right now for that. But cool. Next slide here. Let's jump into this one.
Yeah. What I've done here, I've added some service areas, as I call it. It could either be a zip code or several zip codes. It could be a county, or it could actually be a region, if you like. So here, for the fun of it, I put in the 4 major regions in Denmark, which is actually saying I'm covering the whole Denmark.
Okay. Now, one quick question here, Henrik. Could you potentially use, say, map entities for these service areas? So let's say, as you were mentioning, different neighborhoods or things like that. If we were to, for example, go to Google Maps and it recognizes that there's a major city or a major subsection of the city, could you potentially add those here?
Yep. What you normally in US city have defined is areas, residential areas, for example, that it's a Palm Springs Park or whatever it's called. You could use those, but those will normally be connected to a zip code as well, which is a little bit larger in scale. And you can only have max 20 service areas inserted into this section. You have to think about how you're trying to scale a business. We have to realize that whenever we're talking about Google My Business, what will happen that Google will serve you to potential searchers, mostly mobile, and that will be based on the proximity the mobile is into respect of your location. So the nearer it is, the more likelihood is that your business will be shown. But what you want to do is also to say, okay, can I stretch my reach, my proximity to the max?
Right.
I showed on a webinar one day that I have a Danish company selling wheelchairs. and they have different locations around the country. And one of the locations is based in what they call region, as it's called here, region Midtjylland, Denmark. So I have put my browser to Longview in Texas as the search place and search for wheelchairs. And I actually pulled up, a search in Danish for wheelchairs, and I actually pulled up that particular GMB, even though that I was searching from Longview in Texas. So proximity is, in algorithmic terms, a big giant, so to speak. The more GMBs that's in the area, the more competition. But you could sit in a country, search for something, and you have a GMB in another country popping up.
Perfect.
To take that a little bit further, the Copenhagen area where I'm located is a capital region of Denmark. That's where the capital Copenhagen is situated. And we're only 19 kilometers from Sweden, from the coastline of Sweden. So because I had put a lot of effort into a particular GMB, that GMB, even though that they have, actually the head office is in Sweden, but in the southern part of Sweden, it will be the Danish GMB popping up either when you do a branded search or searching for some of the services like Rojo cushions and things like that.
Perfect.
So be smart. County, city, area, postal codes, you can stuff it in there.
Perfect. And then, so with this particular one, what contact information do you want to show the customers? Again, don't just be super upfront with it. Again, the more upfront you are with it, the more likely it is for Google to help push it through. It's, when people start throwing in weird numbers, weird addresses, weird, super optimized URLs, trying to game the system, as you mentioned, Henrik, that's obviously where we see a lot of issues, lead gen type sites, things like that. But one other thing that a lot of businesses may not understand or may not be fully utilizing is this website portion of that. Could you speak to that? Tell us a little bit more about what this website is, how it could potentially be used, and why someone would want to do that. I mean, let's say I already have a website. Why would I want a GMB based site?
On this screen, you could put in your own website, and that will be the one will be referenced when the knowledge panel will show up in map search or in normal search. But if you take the free website, that will generate a one-page website which you can use to max out your online presence, and we'll dig in deeper into that a little bit later. Perfect. So you can choose that one and change it to the major website later on, but you will get the website created immediately. Otherwise, you will have to go in afterward, change your GMB, setting up the website, but why not do it here and get it activated immediately?
Perfect. Cool. We'll keep moving on. I have seen a couple questions pop up here, but we'll handle all that as soon as we're done with the presentation. We'll make sure we have enough time for that.
And when you, at this stage, you will hit finish, and then you will go through a process. Normally, there will be a screen, which I didn't press finish for this one because I didn't want to set it up. But you will be notified that a postcard will be in the mail, and you will receive within X numbers of days, depending on where you're located and Google's estimation on how fast it will go with the mail service.
Right. Typically 5 to 7, but obviously with the slow as things have been moving on their end right now, I would anticipate on a lot more. So cool. So a couple questions. it looks like I'm looking over here at the YouTube channel. John asked, are there any problems with setting up new GMBs right now, verification, etc.? The thing that I'm seeing is, as long as it can be verified, it can take a while, but it's not impossible. Again, if you're not gaming the system, if you're not trying to create like a lead gen site or do anything like that, as long as it's a legitimate business, and obviously if you have done business, if you're an established business, you're in, say, like Dun & Bradstreet, if you're in Yellow Pages, if you have other citations or local listings, if you want to think of them that way, anytime that you have more of those that can help corroborate or validate it's an actual business, I see a lot of this verification go just, it runs really smoothly. There's a few different resources that I've seen. One of them, I think it's White Spark put it out a number of years ago, but it's the local SEO ecosystem. And there are really about 4 major aggregators that search engines in general will pull data from. So as long as you're in those, it kind of is a step, it's a step in the right direction and helps establish your business before you even need to get to verification. So did you want to add to that at all, Henrik?
No. What you could do, if you have a strategy where you, which you of course will, we'll touch that later on, have an IFTT network, which actually is maybe something like 23 Web.2.0 properties.
Mm-hmm.
Do those first.
Yep.
And then do your GMB, because that will verify or solidify that you are a genuine business. So
Perfect.
That's one.
Cool. Double check and see if we have any other questions here. I'm not seeing any others right offhand. Let me just refresh.
I don't think that.
Okay, cool. We'll keep moving on then.
Yep.
So the dashboard, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So the dashboard for the GMB, go ahead and take it away. Obviously, this is a new feature right here.
What it will notify you in these days is that there's limited functionality due to the COVID-19.
Sure.
And what it states is there'll be, as we mentioned in the last webinar, you could be subject to manual reviews on various points like edits, review replies, and maybe Q&A, which is disconnected for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, you can add to your GMB in a normal way. It might not be approved immediately. So what you look at here is the dashboard in Google My Business. Up at the lower left, you will see your business name. And then you have on the left side different menu items like home, post, info, insights, reviews, messaging, photos, product, service, and the website. We go through these on how you can optimize those best possible.
Perfect. So let's jump into the info tab here.
Yeah. The info tab is the most important to get done. You will see here at the top level of it, this says it's a locksmith key duplication service, emergency locksmith services. That was where we were putting in the services in the setup of the GMB.
Right.
So those you put in there, they'll be reflected here. You can see there's a pane where you can go in and change the services. So if you, on the latest date, want to add more, or you don't provide the service, then you go in and remove it.
Perfect.
The next, so go back here, go back one. So the next item just below that, you'll see I have blurred it, but here you have the ability to have what you call a shortening for your business.
Mm-hmm.
So your business can have a short name which you can use on Google to easier drive reviews and things like that.
Just a little more memorable name, so it's not the Google page 1237 blah 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 blah.
So if you're a locksmith, you maybe have a short name, Lock Me Up.
Right. That's a great locksmith name. Lock Me Up. Cool.
Then we have the service areas.
Yep.
Again, you can go in and add and subtract further, and then you have one of the most important things that you have to ensure: your opening hours.
Yep.
Google look at business, and when you search, you'll see they get filtered, and normally they will get filtered by opening hours and by reviews. Those with the best reviews, which according to Google will be what serves the client that is searching best. Of course, those with most beneficial reviews and who are open for business.
Okay, perfect. Oops. I think we already went through this one here. So
is that the same?
I think so. Info tab. So scrolling down, no.
If you go back. Sorry. This is the special hours. Sorry. It should be one where maybe I'll put it in twice on server.
Okay.
But there should be one where we are talking about special opening hours. And as we spoke about last time, one of the areas where you could go in and put in special opening hours at this on certain times is in that section. And you could just put in that you open 1 hour a day or whatever.
Right.
Instead of mark your business as temporarily closed. But if you open from 11 to 12 at night, you won't have many calls. You won't have many, but you will show up. You'll be live on Google search, and that's the most important part of it.
And I think that's probably the trickiest thing, because recently I have also seen instances where Google is just going in there and marking businesses as closed, whether you like it or not. So if that's the case, obviously
that could be a competitor doing that, Brian.
Totally. Yeah. So just something for any business to be aware of is if a competitor is doing that, or if Google itself is doing that, just be aware. Check your hours from time to time, especially during this kind of COVID-19 time here. So, let's talk a little bit about the highlights and the description here. What needs to happen in that?
Highlights. When you hit that pen, normally Google would come up with suggestions for attributes to your business, like do you have wheelchair access if you're receive a client at your location? So if you're restaurants, do you have wheelchair access? Do you receive credit cards? Do you receive checks? And so, i.e. payments method. Put in as many as you can.
Okay.
Because again, you're giving Google information which is better, can serve its customers, which is the searcher. And the more information that you can give, the better.
Perfect. And then I would assume the same goes here as well for anyone that's watching this. For your description, you're going to want to pull in information that talks about your business, the types of services that you offer. Think of it as a place to, put in your keywords or variations of the kinds of things that you offer to any of your clients that walk in.
But if you look at the first paragraph, I think that's the most important one, because that's the one you normally will see when you get the knowledge panel up in Google search.
Perfect.
So the more appealing or enticing it will be to click on the business, or to look just below that. Normally your post will be shown there. So the more, let's say, call to action you can get into, or more enticing you can be, the better.
Perfect.
But as you say, keywords as well. So services, but we are digging deeper into services just in a while. So
perfect. Cool. And then this just looks like we're scrolling a little bit further down the page.
Yeah. And what's important here is if you have a date for your creation of the business, put it in there.
Mhm.
Again, Google can say, okay, it was not open overnight. It was open back in 1999. So it's an old trusted business rather than you neglect it. And then you can add photos directly from here, but you can also on the left side see there's a photo section. So that's
Perfect.
the info tab.
Okay. So messaging. Let's jump into this. This is definitely a newer feature. I mean, it's been around for a while, but one I don't think a lot of people quite understand what it is or how it may potentially work. So yeah, let's dive into this.
What you can do is if you have a mobile phone, you can connect that mobile phone to the messaging page here, which means that if somebody search and hit the message tab on the mobile, then they can message you directly and ask for an offer or a quote or whatever. And you can reply to them instantly from your mobile text facility or SMS facility.
Right. So it's like an instant message with.
It's an instant messaging tool. Another tool that you can use, you can download your mobile GMB app. You will also get notification in there when somebody is messaging you, send a message to.
Okay. And I would note that is only on the mobile app, unless you're using like a mobile emulator, which that gets more technical than most business owners are wanting to deal with. But it's just the GMB app is just something that I know Google really kind of pushes using for stuff like this. It's the only way that you'll actually see those messages. And the thing to keep in mind is that you have to reply within 24 hours. Otherwise, messaging gets turned off, and then you have to go in and re-enable that. So, yeah. Cool. Let's jump into photos.
Yep. Photos is one of the things that Google likes most, because when you're on a mobile, of course, which the majority of the searches are on these days, coming from an iPad on a mobile device, they like to see pictures. So the more pictures you can upload, the better. And from the business owner perspective, you can go in and view the 360. And if you have the opportunity, and if you have a restaurant or cafe or things like that, go and get some 360 photos done.
Shameless self-promotion. I am Google Street View certified. So if anyone in the Colorado area is looking for 360 photos, that is something that I do offer as well. So that's it. Shameless self-promotion. Let's move on.
No,
here, Henrik.
I can recommend the guy.
Right?
Another thing that you can do is upload videos.
Yep.
Again, your customer can also upload videos to your GMB. They are limited to 30 seconds and 30 megabytes officially. But if you do one which is 1 minute, it's not rejected. So you could try it.
Right.
Or split that up into two. But again, videos, pictures, whatever you can do, and we'll talk a little bit about optimizing the videos, photos in a second.
Perfect.
But again, you can, as a business owner, go and upload a builder from your interior or exterior. Or one thing that most service business they ignore, that's at work. So when you're out at a client's place, take a photo with your camera, upload it to your GMB at work. You can either do it directly from your Google My Business mobile app, which I recommend because it's uploaded directly, and it will be geotagged at that location. So if you are situated a little bit outside the city and you work in the city for a client, Google will notice, okay, you were there and you did some work there. Or if you look at in the city and work in the suburbs, the other way around, that will apply as well.
And it's just kind of giving Google additional signals that this is, again, your service area or the kinds of places that you work. It's almost like you just connecting the dots or giving them a better idea of
exactly.
Here's what you do.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And then put up photos as well of your teams. That's another one. But every photo that you upload should be geotagged. So
perfect. And that's easy enough to do if you just turn on the GPS settings on your phone.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
products.
What we have is products here.
Yeah. Do you have something to say about that?
The only thing I would say with products is be careful with what you're uploading. I have seen a couple people try and upload stuff like directly from Amazon or like from the marketing assets from, let's say, a vendor. Yeah. And I've seen a couple issues with that where the image will actually get rejected because they're like, well, that's an Amazon image or that's someone's image from Etsy or something like that.
If you are using affiliate type of products, they'll be rejected.
Okay.
And you might get suspended if you continue doing it. But if you company in pest control service, you could have a picture of a product which is also on Amazon that won't get flagged as such.
Okay.
So it's seen in relation to your business. But if you're a pure service business, take now some carpet cleaner, and you try to promote Amazon products like radios and things like that. That's a no-no.
Got it. Cool.
But it's a very important space because those products pictures normally you'll see them above the tree pack,
right,
or in your knowledge panel.
So carousel
depending
or
on the search activity. So if Google has a lot of paid traffic with products, then you'll only be shown in the knowledge panel. Otherwise, it can be shown up there. Optimize the pictures again. That's the only thing we can recommend.
Cool. So jump here into the services. This is a place that it seems like this is definitely a place. I wouldn't say it seems like it. This is a place that businesses really, from what I've seen in different GMB audits, this is probably a really overlooked area. A lot of people just kind of gloss over it, or they won't put in a full description, which is kind of a missed opportunity, really.
Yeah. But if I just go back to the products, because I forgot to say, you need minimum 3 categories in products and 5 pictures in each for Google to say this is sufficient to actually promoting those stuff. So 3 categories as a minimum, 5 products in each. So that gives a limitation for some of the businesses.
Yeah, but so if you're a single product business, product business would not qualify for this.
No.
Cool.
And the service,
all right.
Again, categories, you can see here, the primary category here is locksmith, but it could be, again, car key repair, car key exchange, whatever kind of category you have, and then stick the services in there fully optimized with a lot of keyword rich text in order to really push that particular service.
So be descriptive, use variations of the keywords. If you're, for example, doing locks, you would probably also talk about like locksmith or locking services, 24/7 service, emergency services, home, locked out of your home for door locks, things like that are variations.
Yeah, but here you can see he is promoting the different types of locks that they're offering.
Yep.
Those could have been in product as well.
Perfect.
So you can put it in there as a service and then have product pictures of the different locks and put that in the product section. I will have done that.
Cool. Awesome.
Here, there's an example where I've chosen, it will say prices none normally, and then the box where it's the service price, in this instance in GMB, in British pound, it will just be empty. So just to show that you can put prices in there as well. Perfect. For the service that you're providing. And again, you have 300 words to describe that service. So take the max out of it.
Cool. So the one-page website, this is again where if we go to website right here, this is the one-page website, and it's going to be pulling in all of the data from your Google My Business to create this single-page website.
As we said, why not activate it while you can? And you can see in the frame on the left side that you have different kind of themes you can have. You have the edit box where you can go in and edit the text, where you have 1,500 character, which you can describe your business and so not the services because they'll be listed anyhow, but more a description of your business, getting the rapport with the clients. Then you can upload photos, and then you can go in and you can have different settings that you can put in. If you like, you can actually attach a domain to that one-page website.
Perfect.
What we should mention here is when you're posting to your GMB, the post will show in your knowledge panel. I think we showed it last time, but we can show it a little later here. And it will also be shown here on the website. It will function like an inner page to this website. So depending on how we structure our post, we can actually create small mini silos within that one page.
Right. A good thing for a lot of businesses to think about. I mean, I think a lot of people are really accustomed to the idea of blogging. And you can think of these posts as almost micro blogs, 300-word blogs or less. So in having that, you can actually apply the same principles that you would for SEO, where you're talking your keywords, you're talking about particular topics. It is a little bit more limited. You can't do exact anchors or control that. You would actually have to type in the full URL. But for all intents and purposes, these function almost like a mini blog on this Google branded website.
Yeah, we should say that in the text, the 1,500 characters that you can put in the about section, you can add links in there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about these posts a little bit more. So in the dashboard, this is where you would click, or they also have these kind of quick links up top here. Yep. So yeah, what else would you want people to know about? Obviously, the COVID-19 update, that's a little new feature. Typically, it was add offer, update, event, or product. What else should people know about this, Henrik?
Well, as we said, you have 300 characters to play with in a post. You can max create 4 posts a day.
Yep.
You have to be careful what kind of pictures that you upload to the post. In this instance, it's a video that I made, but again, 300 words, 300 characters.
Yep.
I have to say that's the maximum. So new short updates, and if you have an event, you have an what do you call it, an open house or special launch, product launch, or things like that, you can use the event. This is a calendar type of post that you could go in and describe. The beauty about the events is if you stretch it for more than a week, maybe let's say you're a car dealer and you have a new model coming in, you would say next month we have a special events for that.
Right.
So that keep your post live for longer than the 7 days that they normally would be live on the knowledge panel. And on the website, they will be live as long as they're part of the 9 latest posts. But they still exist in the system. And that's some of the strategies we'll talk about later on.
Perfect. So one other thing that I would add to this is, as far as an update, this could potentially be a fantastic opportunity for local businesses if you've got your smartphone and you record a short video about, quarantine, hashtag quarantine life or something like that, where you're giving people an update on what's going on with your business, keeping in communication. I mean, you can keep it fun, entertaining, take a walk outside and show, hey, this is, just because we're supposed to be doing social distancing doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be socially isolated. And so you can show people like, here's an example of what I did today, or here's an example of, how I'm functioning at home, just any kind of update that you wanted to put in there. And you can potentially leverage that update feature with those kinds of things, especially during the COVID-19 self-quarantines.
I think I will show a little example of one.
Sure.
If you don't.
Yeah. Do you want to go to the next slide here first?
No, let me grab the screen here and go down. Just need to find that particular one.
Perfect.
Can everybody see a Facebook page now?
Yep, I'm seeing it here on my end, but let's see if we have. Yeah.
So this little video, you can presume you can't hear it, but that's a consultant for a company who are selling these wheelchairs. They just mention a little bit some of the problem that their customers can have, how to solve them, and what could happen if the worst case scenario is out.
Right.
And if I go further down here, you'll see one of the guys who are actually helping the disabled fixing their wheelchairs. If it were updates. So that's one of the consultants that go out and fix the wheelchairs if the ventilator is broken or whatever. And he explaining exactly what kind of precautions they're doing, that they're wearing gloves, they're wearing masks, they have sanitizers. They just ask the helper in their house to bring the wheelchair outside if the person is in bed, or the person will drive out themselves, but everything will be taken care of outside, because it's better in the free air than doing it in-house. So that's, let me remove that again. But that's a kind of small videos that you can get an idea of what you can do, right?
Perfect.
And we were talking about the restaurants, whatever they could do, but there's a lot of opportunities to brand yourself and just to tell people out there that you care about them, so
Mhm.
they shouldn't worry. You're there if they need to call you.
Absolutely. So the next thing that we have on here also is the posts for the COVID-19. So this is,
Yeah.
again, a very new kind of feature that Google's offering. And really the point of this is just letting people know, are there updates to the status of your business, leveraging this as opposed to canceling or closing your business hours. So this is just kind of an updated status.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Anything else you would want to add to that, or that seems pretty straightforward.
It's straightforward. Make sure, as you can see, there's an add button. So if you choose the one, learn more, you can't show it here, but then you can make a link to a post on your blog or your website if you need that. So
perfect. Cool.
That was the upper top of the dashboard we were talking about for setting up a Google My Business. And it's just, let's say, the last piece of it is that you can access your Google Quick Ads dashboard from here. So if you want to create an ad, you can hit that. You can get a custom email if you like. You can add a new location, and you can manage your locations, or you can link an account to this particular dashboard if you like. That's other manager, so to speak.
Right.
So that's it for the dashboard.
Perfect. So some strategies on this for being seen on Google. One of them is obviously post regularly. The more and they say content is king, but the more that you can post and the more relevant content that you can post about your business, you're feeding the algorithm. You also want to look at siloing your posts. And for those that aren't familiar with siloing, essentially it's just staying on topic and not venturing outside of that. So if you have a post that links to another post, or you're creating these topical kind of categories. So we would never, if you're a locksmith, we wouldn't start talking about dance lessons or things like that. That would be way outside of the topic of locksmithing. However, with locksmithing, you could potentially talk about locksmithing, being locked out of your auto, emergency locksmiths, being locked out of your house, or you could get even more granular with that and only talk about being locked out of your house or being locked out of your auto, but just more or less staying on topic, staying on category.
Yeah, but you could say, Brian, if you take a locksmith, you could say one silo would be post which you link together regarding your auto services, i.e. that you could be locked out of your car, your new car keys, etc., etc. Another one could be a silo with security of your house, and the third one could be the services that you're offering for open doors or whatever kind. So think about a silo as a thematic silo. So everything within that silo has relevance to the next post or the previous post in your silo.
Right. And then optimizing your images and expanding your reach. I think both of those kind of go hand in hand with each other, as you were mentioning, Henrik. If you have someone that, let's say you're a roofing contractor and you're doing projects outside of your normal office, have your guys in the field take pictures, upload them right then and there, and just show where that you're doing business outside of your office. And with that optimization, making sure that you have your just GPS settings turned on your phone, and that you're uploading relevant images to your business. What else would you want to add to that, Henrik?
Yep. What you can do for expand your reach is if you have a silo where you start building post about the areas nearby your GMB, and then go further and further and further out.
Yeah.
Then you have what you could call an area silo, so to speak, which means that you're not talking so much about your services other than if you're looking for a locksmith near
Denver or yeah,
or whatever.
Mhm.
And then you go to the next one. If you're looking for pest control near Great County Town Hall or court,
right.
so you take the different landmarks and stack them into a series of posts in order to expand your reach.
Perfect.
And then you could, instead of a picture,
Mhm.
having a Google map with driving directions
Yep.
as a link in that post. Or you could, of course, take a optimized picture of the courthouse and then the driving direction from your location to that particular one.
Perfect. Perfect. And we have one last slide for everyone, and this is just kind of for anyone that's interested. We've given you an entire strategy on how to go from start to finish through your Google My Business. The last slide that we have here are just some of the tools that both Henrik and I use, one of them being the GMB Mega Poster. And this, again, I'll let you speak to this one, Henrik.
Yeah, what I think we should do, we should just mention that we're using a special tool to manage the GMBs. There's an awful lot of tools facility in the GMB Mega Poster, and that's actually a software I was the architect of because I was missing a tool, so I got the ranking store to code that for me, or in cooperation with me. So that's all the tools I needed at that time, plus a little bit more has been added to it.
Sure.
But it's a marvelous tool, and there's coming a new version 2.0 with a lot of goodies in it. So
awesome.
We're looking forward to that.
Very cool.
And then we're using well, there's more your favorites.
Yep, one of my favorites here. And that is, again, through the ranking store. This is just Backlink Factory, and then we both will use IFTTT or content syndication type networks. So these are all just they're all just tools that, again, there's really nothing that you specifically have to use in order to manage a GMB. But these are just things that we find, helpful. And if you're interested in learning more about any of these tools, you can definitely hit up Henrik or myself in the Colorado group. And aside from that, I think we're right about on schedule here, Henrik. Let's double check and see if we have any other questions. And yeah, I'm not seeing anything in Facebook right now.
No, John is just mentioning that the short branding videos are a great idea. Yes, it works.
Thanks, John.
So definitely do that. So if you can configure to 1 minute for the Facebook post, the GMB post, but do it the same on YouTube. Do it the same on Facebook.
Yep.
In these times, you have to go out, brand yourself. On the more branding, the more often you're out, the more known you'll be, and you can use those small videos as well for video ads, which will become dirt cheap over the next couple of weeks, I think.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Again, thanks everyone for taking the time here to join us over your lunch hour for a little bit of GMB information and some strategy. If you have any other questions.
One more slide.
Oh,
don't we?
We got one. Nope, that's it. Tools is the last one here.
Let me take screen then.
Cool.
Just a second. What we have is actually we have set up a small training. So if you go to this web address, you can sign up for a free training how to set up your GMB, and that goes through all what I have been through here and what Brian had mentioned. We should fill in, but there's small video training for that. So I'll drop that into the chat as well. So
sounds great. Awesome. Well, yeah. Again, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. add us on Facebook. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate, drop a comment in the chat. Both Henrik and I will be kind of taking a look at those and helping everyone out as we possibly, wherever we can, in order to get this done. If you're looking for additional consulting or additional training on any of these things, more on a one-on-one type basis, definitely hit either Henrik or myself up in the chat, and we can definitely explore those options as necessary. So again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Henrik. Thanks for spending your early evening with us, and we'll be chatting with everyone here soon.
Okay, take care.
All right.
Go out and do something out there.
Right. Have a good one, everyone.
Ciao.